here. That's loud. Issues? Having issues?
Nope, we're good.
So we are live here.
Welcome to Living Low Sodium with Mary Schepp. Join Mary this morning as she tickles your taste buds with her salty wit and her exceptional palate, all whilst guiding us through the land of low sodium living. Of course, low sodium living, low sodium, whatever the name of this show is, brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Reeses Barkery Pawtique. ReesesBarkery.com, 815-363-7297, because your fur babies need to live healthy as well. Today, well, let's do an appetizer round. Good morning.
Good morning. I was thinking about appetizers because, so for St. Patrick's Day,
Oh yeah,
we do. So I'm on the Rotary, and
the Cary Grove, right?
yes, the Cary Grove Rotary. I absolutely love it,
Give them a shout out.
and I can't even begin to tell you how fabulous it's been. So I'm gonna get yelled at for that. Shoot. Either way. Sorry, I'm distracted. I'm doing 16,000 things at the same time.
That's it. Pamela, good morning.
Good morning.
Ted, good morning. Pam, good morning.
So I'm on the Rotary every once a month. I mean, we meet every week and we do charitable stuff and scholarships and all this stuff. And then we run the summer farmers market and everything. And I run the winter farmers market. But once a month, instead of we meeting in the morning, the last at the end of the month, we meet in person at night and do a social. We just get together for dinner. So this month happened to fall on St. Patrick's Day. So we were trying to figure out where we're going to go and what we're going to do. And one of our members is about as Irish can be. His last name's Connolly. And Connolly, not to confuse him with Steph Conley. But so him and his wife graciously said, why don't we have it at our place? I don't know if any of you follow my Facebook page. I posted pictures of it. I almost wish I could still drink because he dressed up like a leprechaun. So we went to his home.
That's awesome.
That is 100 years old. Beautiful home. I mean, the decorations, everything. They've been there for 40 years. So it's just the sweetest, most wonderful people. True boiled Irish dinner, cabbage, corned beef, red potatoes, purple cabbage, roasted carrots. Like, it was absolutely fabulous. The beef they got from the corned beef they got from Orchard Prime Meats in Cary, so it's straight from the butcher. I mean, good stuff. And literally, as soon as he opens the door, and he's just a little dude, so he's dressed like a leprechaun. I'm like, this is literally my best St. Patrick's Day I've ever had in my entire life. So then he's showing us the house, and we go downstairs. The basement has a bar that's, just a tiny little 10 by 10 room at the bottom of the stairs. The person who owned it before, full-blown cobblestone fireplace, all of the tchotchke stuff they've collected over the past 40 years of living there and how many years of being husband and wife. They've traveled to Ireland before, so they've got, and I posted pictures of it, and it literally looks like I'm in this little leprechaun cave with a guy dressed as a leprechaun making rye whiskey drinks for everybody in black and tans. It was just like, this is the absolute best St. Patrick's Day ever. It was, the company was fantastic. And I haven't had corned beef since Mitch Sheehan made it.
Mm.
God rest him, passed away a little while back. Him and his wife are amazing cooks, and when he found out that boiled dinner is my favorite dinner, not just for St. Patrick's Day, I used to make it all the time. And corned beef, if you are low sodium,
Yeah.
most things you can still make as a home chef and modify it and have it. That you would think macaroni and cheese, there's things that you would think that are high sodium that you're never going to be able to have again. Corned beef, yes, it can be done lower sodium. But it takes talent and equipment and time and process. So he literally invented this method. I have the recipe, we posted the recipe. But he made corned beef, vacuum sealed it in his professional vacuum sealer, packaged it up and shipped it across the country to me. And that was the last time I had corned beef. That was in 2015, maybe the spring of 2016 was the last time I've had. Because a single 3-ounce serving of corned beef usually starts at about 1,000 milligrams. So you get 2, maybe 3 thin slices of corned beef.
Slices, people.
Yeah, yes,
slices.
like 3 ounces. So I'm like, this isn't like your corned beef sandwich from Cax's Deli or something. It's 3 little slices about 1,000 milligrams on the low side, if you're lucky. So I paid dearly for that dinner. 100% worth it. 100%. I was in heaven. I'm sitting at the head of a table that's 10 feet long in a house that looks like someone plucked it from Ireland, listening to Irish music. He's got like 500 Irish CDs. He's addicted to Ireland. With a guy sitting to my right, dressed like a leprechaun, and his wife is at the opposite end of the table. We're literally eating on china with silver.
Oh,
like, this isn't cheated. This is what they do on a normal basis. Like, we're all china plates, the green napkins, all 9 yards. Boiled dinner, perfectly cooked by a woman in her own kitchen, by her leprechaun husband. It was absolutely the best St. Patrick's Day I've had in so long. But they had, when I had sent them a message and said, what can I do as the cook, as the entertainer, as someone who loves to do this? What can I bring? And he says, well, maybe an appetizer or a dessert. I ended up getting a couple veggie trays with dip, which went over fabulously because I couldn't decide on an appetizer. Partially, I'm so stinking busy, so it was really hard. And then I waited till last minute, so I ended up just doing the veggie tray. For dessert, I brought the muffins that you guys shared.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing I could think of to an Irish dessert is apple cake.
Yeah.
Normally in Ireland, it would be an apple cake, super thin slices. Like chunks of apple in the cake, with a crumble on top, and then there's a custard drizzle like dressing.
Yeah.
I suck at making custards. They break. They don't turn out. I'm not very good at it. I admit that. I didn't want to ruin it, so I just made apple cake, which is usually with like a Granny Smith or a sour apple, with the crumble on top. But then I made it as little tiny mini cakes, like cupcakes or muffins, so that everybody could have their own, which is how you guys ended up, because I made a couple extras to bring for you guys for. I didn't expect Dawn to share them.
No, very moist. They were good. Very good.
So, but it got me thinking about appetizers and all of the different things that people dread that are low sodium, because you go to these places and you have a get together, a football party, St. Patty's Day party. You have this huge spread of stuff and you're going, what can I eat? Can I eat any of it? And especially if you're asked to bring something, what do you make? What do you make that other people are going to eat that's low enough sodium for you to eat, but not have everybody else that we call, us in the low sodium world call you guys salties.
Yeah.
The problem is it's very much like pizza. I like pizza. You like pizza. The chances that we like the same pizza are not guaranteed. You know, you
As long as there's no fruit on it, I'm good.
see, I like pineapple pizza.
Ugh, yeah.
I'm all for it. But that's the thing is, same with low sodium. Depending on your palate, some people eat my food and they're like, "Holy crap, this is awful."
Right.
And some people are like, "This is amazing. How come you don't have a restaurant?"
See,
Like,
but I'll do anchovies. But that's salty.
very,
Yeah.
very salty. So, thinking about St. Patrick's Day and corned beef and being my absolute favorite, and I can't even stress this enough. On my deathbed, it's going to be boiled dinner and 2 fingers of single malt Spale and Scotch. Like that.
So you're on death row.
Right.
That's it, right?
Those listening to me, if my husband is not around to fulfill my wishes, I want to be cremated in a pine box, cheap as possible. Throw me out to sea, plant me underneath peach tree. I don't care. And I want corned beef and boiled dinner and 2 fingers of single malt Spale and Scotch. I think. What did I get you? Did I get you the Ben Riach?
No. I
can't remember which one I got you.
Yeah, it's in a white. Yeah, hold on, it'll come to me. It was delicious, by the way.
So it got me thinking about this because I absolute incredible hospitality.
Yeah,
hands down, best day. But it's the same thing is always said. Every single time someone else has made food, or I'm in a place, or I'm talking to someone, literally just in the last week, in the conversations that I've had with 4 or 5 different people about food, and they say, I don't use that much salt, or I hope there's something here that you can eat. So I mean, there's consideration and there's this justification in their mind of what I can and cannot have. And I appreciate that. Yeah, and I don't want to make that sound like I'm not. And I know a lot of people in the low sodium world, you go into the groups and the forums and there's a lot of battle back and forth about family members not caring. And it's not always that they don't care. They just don't know.
Right.
So I figured we'd go through a little bit of the basics and before I share a few of my recipes for some appetizers, because I literally just had this conversation with 3 different people in the last few days. You don't know how much is too much. Mm-hmm. So when you say I don't use that much salt, how do you know that if you have no idea how much too much salt is?
That's right.
Like, I don't eat that much sugar. How do you drink pop? Because if you do, you're probably having too much sugar. Yeah. Like, how do you know is too much or too little?
Right. You don't know what you don't know.
And did you know that so sodium and potassium are necessary for life? Yes. Proper muscle function, body function, they're an electrolyte. It's necessary for you to live. Yeah. Too little of it can kill you, and too much of it can kill you. And they're both things that you have to watch, especially if you're on any kind of medication. You have to watch potassium. Right. Because most heart pills or water pills are what's called potassium sparing, meaning it makes you eliminate and helps you eliminate all of your excess water, which also takes all of your minerals and everything with it. So it's potassium sparing because without that potassium, your heart's not going to beat properly. So therefore, if it's sparing all of your potassium and then you're, addicted to bananas and potatoes, you're going to have too much potassium and cause a whole other host of problems. So the most common restriction is what is a 2-gram sodium diet, or 2,000 milligrams of sodium per day is very, very common for anybody that walks away from a doctor that has a heart issue, liver issue, kidney, whatever issue it is that your doctor has said you should probably watch your sodium, blood pressure, all of those things. Yeah. The easiest way that I have found to have people understand it and be able to watch it on a regular basis is to treat it like money. So instead of thinking how many calories or how much sugar or how much sodium am I getting in a day, if you think I'm allowed $2,000 worth of sodium each day, because most all products are labeled in milligrams, not grams, for sodium anyway. So if you say I can have 2,000 milligrams or $2,000 a day, and every time you look at a can or a box or you Google what you're eating and you say, okay, I'm going to splurge and go to McDonald's. Yeah. You can, if it's not a mom and pop place, their nutrition is going to be there. So when you Google it and say, okay, even corned beef, I don't know how much salt she added to it. I can guarantee you, even as someone who isn't a person that eats salt, it wasn't over salted. It was perfectly seasoned straight from the butcher. She didn't do anything to it but put it in the oven. So it didn't even taste salty to me. But I can still tell you that it was way more than 1,000 milligrams per serving. And I can also tell you I didn't eat just one serving. I mean, if I'm going in,
we're going in.
I'm going all in. 2 plates, as much as my stomach could handle. Thought I was going to die. Don't care. Totally worth it. Because you got to be happy.
You do.
Especially, since apparently we're all going to die in a few days because the whole world's going to hell. So
that's right.
At least that's the conversation that I have lately.
Well, so if the FBI were to ever grab Mary Schepp, you'd have to tell them, listen, let's just talk. Don't give me sodium pentothal or whatever truth serum is, right?
Yeah.
Whatever, however you say that.
And if you're going to execute me, you don't need to give me potassium chloride,
right?
Because you could just give me a couple shots of single malt and I'd probably die in a couple days anyway. So just, and it is funny because they use them in those purposes. So it's kind of funny. So if you treat those things like money, because if I gave you $2,000 cash and said, this is what you can spend that day, you're going to go, okay, I just spent $100 on this. I spent, $500 on gas, and now I got $10 left to get lunch.
Well, there's a lot of programs out there, right?
That,
Weight Watchers are what they call WW now.
Yeah.
But
they don't,
points.
I mean, they track sodium, but they don't.
Right, but
it's not their main.
Right, but you get points for foods carry points.
Yeah.
You have calorie trackers out there, and you put in there, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds by June, and they're like, okay, you can have X amount of calories or whatever. So I think a lot of people are used to thinking of it like money or points, saying, hey, I got so many a day now, because there's just so much of that. But I've never broke it down to sodium or sugar,
right,
or the what they call macronutrients, right, or whatever.
And I wish that they're slowly getting more of a focus. And it's funny because that's how a lot of these programs, they say you have to pay for those features.
Yeah.
And I think that it should be the exact opposite, because calorically, I eat way more than what people would think that I would eat.
Yeah.
I care about calories, but I don't care about calories, because if I'm watching my protein, my fats, my good fats, my fiber, my sugar, my sodium, and my potassium, those things are what determine. So when I eat more protein and actually exercise to build muscle, not cardio, I lose weight.
Yeah.
And the potassium and the sodium and my manganese and my magnesium, all of those things regulate my headaches, my muscle cramps, my sleep cycles, my hormones. So I don't watch my calories at all. I don't care. So when you do, the reason why I tell people to think about it like money is a couple things. So making a lifestyle change is overwhelming. The amount of people, especially now that, I'm over 40 and the majority of my close friends are over 40, coming into their 50s, at least once a week, maybe sometimes every other week, I get a phone call or a text message that says, I need to start watching your show. I just spent a week in the hospital.
Yeah.
I just had a heart episode. I just had my annual. My blood pressure's through the roof. I need to start listening to what you're saying, because this happened. And I get it. I did it. Everybody does it. You don't make a change until it's medically necessary. But it is very overwhelming. So my response is always to make it simple. And it sounds easier than it is, but it really is easy to make it. The journey itself is hard. But when you look at the entire journey and people look at me and go, you make it look so easy. You know exactly, like I can look at your lunch and say, this is how much is in your bread. This is how much is in the mayonnaise. This is how much is in here. My math isn't that good. I'm going to break out the calculator, but I can tell you that sandwich is 1,700 milligrams. Your potato chips are 300 milligrams. Your soda has got 45 grams of sugar in it. And you're looking at me going, there's no way I'm going to have that knowledge. There's no way.
Yeah.
That's too complicated. It's too overwhelming. I'm never going to be able to do that. And you've given up before you even started.
Mm-hmm.
So then you say, I'm going to give 2 weeks. And you try it, but because you already gave up before you started, you need to make it simple. Stop thinking about the bad, because then you punish yourself. So when you think, I can't have donuts, I can't have ice cream, I can't have cookies, I can't have coffee with creamer in it, I can't have sugar, I can't have this is bad. The second that you have that coffee with creamer in it, you're going to punish yourself internally worse than anybody else can judge you, because we're always our own worst critic.
So true. And
that bad is what's going to kill you. So you need to think about what's better. You need the good, the better, and the best. So if I want ice cream, I'm going to have ice cream. I had ice cream last night, peanut butter and chocolate, as a matter of fact, with 3 Girl Scout cookies in it. Thin Mints, if you want to know. And I have an entire pantry, and I have Girl Scout cookies on lock. I want to order them anytime, any place. And once they start thinning out, I order enough to supply me for months. I like Girl Scout cookies. So I choose ice creams that are better. They're made with real ingredients. Yeah. They're made with basic ingredients. They're made with simple ingredients and as little added stuff as humanly possible. Mm-hmm. So you make that better decision. And when you make it simple, and that's why I say, if you think about it like money, and all you're doing is watching your sodium, maybe you're watching your sugar. Whatever it is, you say, okay, I have 2,000 milligrams of sodium, or I have X, grams of sugar per day. I want to stay under 40 grams of sugar, whatever it is. All you're doing is looking at a label.
Yeah.
You reward yourself simply for paying attention. That's it. That is the simplicity of it. Boom, you're done. Because what will happen is the more you pay attention, the easier it becomes to make good, better, and best decisions on what you're consuming. And the more you're going to start retaining, because you eat the same freaking things all the time. We all try new things, whatever, but I can guarantee you that when you go grocery shopping, if you're a bologna person, you probably always buy bologna, cheese, and bread. If you're a ham person, it's always ham, cheese, and bread. Yep. You might deviate a little bit, but all of a sudden, once you start paying attention, you go, holy crap, okay, this one is a white cheddar, which means it has no dyes. And I know the dye for cheese is not really like a red dye, number 5 or something. But when you start saying, okay, I'm not going to pick the colored water that's got red and purple and whatever in it. I'm going to pick a plain flavored water or just plain water, so on and so forth. You make those decisions and you start paying attention to the labels, and all you're watching is sodium. But now you say, well, holy crap, this one's got 50 milligrams of sugar in it. Ooh, let's see if we got another one.
And if you are a bologna person, stay away from the olive loaf. That's gross.
Really?
Yeah, it's gross.
Oh.
Don't ruin a piece of bologna. It's gross. And there's a lot of salt in those olives, so.
And there's a lot of salt and blood. See, I tend to get Boar's Head mortadella.
Oh, okay.
Because it's got nice little creamy chunks of fat in it, mm-hmm. and it's a little bit lower in sodium. So if I have a hankering for some bologna, I actually get the mortadella because it's pretty much the same thing. It's just a fancy version of bologna made with better ingredients. Yeah. So when you think about it and you break it down to that simplest level, and that's why I always say, and Pete used to always say that that he paid attention.
Yeah.
And that was always what made me happy.
So I've got a question for you.
Sure.
As you're talking about, you taking a look at money, out there now, a lot of trackers and things like that are, hey, I've just gone and rode my bike 10 miles for mm-hmm. 30 minutes or whatever. Now I need to replace some of that stuff that I've expended. Mm-hmm. So I have to replenish my money. So you're saying, hey, stick to that 2,000, but okay, you go out and let's mm-hmm. say you jog for a half hour, do a 5K. I don't know, right? I'm just making something up because I don't jog.
I'm not. I do my stairs and
Right.
then I want to cry.
Right. So does your money? Can you replenish your money then? Because you sweat or whatever now? If you're at that 2,000 now,
Yes and no.
back?
So the other thing and this is where it's so hard.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that goes into, and that's why it's so much easier for doctors to just give you medication. Because
correct.
And that's why I always say, I will help anyone. I will literally make you 7 days worth of food.
Sure.
I will walk you through all of it. The reason I don't is because I'm an asshole and I know 100% you're going to let me down.
Mm-hmm.
If you had the fortitude and the willpower and the strength to do it on your own from day one without something catastrophic like I have where your organs fail, you wouldn't be asking me for the help. Yeah. So you are going to let me down. I'm going to get the text message. I'm going to get the phone call that says,
yeah, but
I totally splurged and went to lunch with Kent today. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't care. I mean, I care.
Right.
I want you to be healthy and I want you to be around. I want you to be my friend for the next 50 years, but I don't care.
Right.
Like you did it.
It is what it is.
I'm not there to make the decision for you and I'm not going to punish you because you're going to punish yourself worse than anybody else could anyways.
Yeah.
So there's so much balance that goes into that. And the truth is the vast majority of the time, outside of genetic mutations and exceptions, and even with those, I can't make cilantro taste better.
Right.
I am genetically predispositioned for it to taste like Lysol. It's not going to taste better for me, no matter how many times I try it, no matter how much I can tolerate it now in small quantities. It's not going to happen. Just not. Everything else, everybody is different. As time passes and science passes and knowledge passes, we used to think, you had a blood and then there's blood types and then there's blood types with subtypes and then there's plasma and then there's plasma types and then there's every time we get smarter and we learn more and we go, holy crap, it's not just A blood and A blood. If your plasma is different, then all of a sudden you guys can't be a match and that's why your organs were rejected for the organ transplant because this isn't perfect. So when I did an elimination diet and I discovered I'm nightshade sensitive, I was pissed because you take away my salt, you took away my cigarettes, you took away my alcohol, and now my most favorite foods on the planet, corned beef, potatoes, which is a nightshade, tomatoes, which is a nightshade, zucchini, which is a nightshade. Like I would literally eat all the corned beef and hash for breakfast, potatoes for lunch, potatoes for dinner, or I make a zucchini and green tomato gratin, like literally eat that all the time. And now you're telling me. So once I discovered what I can and cannot have, what my body does and does not like, based on the evolutionary timeline of my history, you can learn that maybe I don't eat a lot of meat and I feel better. Maybe all I do is eat meat and I feel better. Everybody is different. Therefore, if you're someone who does run, and people are like, oh, you need to replace your electrolytes,
right,
which is true, but you could literally eat a pickle spear, like a low sodium pickle spear. You can get a decent Clausen pickle that's low enough for you to consume. You're still going to swell up because if your organs are having issues because of damage, that water retention process at a cellular level is messed up.
Okay.
So no matter what, you're still going to retain. It still means you need it, but there's this balance, especially if you've been put on medication, because now I'm not on medication. So if I need to eliminate extra sodium, I hate them. Everybody knows that, at least if you know me. I'll eat a banana and drink 16 ounces of water. So it's more water than I should consume because I need to watch how much liquid I consume because I retain water. But by drinking more water, it kicks my kidneys on, which means I eliminate more water, which means it keeps my water flowing. So it actually, by drinking more water, I retain less. And by having that potassium in the bananas or the potatoes, it actually, and that's why I don't eat potatoes instead of bananas, because I love potatoes, is because they're a nightshade. And if I eat too many of them, it makes me feel bad. So there's this balance. And that's why this can be so unbelievably overwhelming. But when you start, and you're on the beginning of that journey, if all you're doing is paying attention, and even if you're not on that journey because of liver disease or heart disease or kidney disease or any one of the other million syndromes that you could have, if all you're doing as a listener of mine or a friend of mine or anything, that you start paying attention to what you're consuming, it's going to make you on a path to make better decisions about what you eat. Because you will. Holy crap, Mary was just talking about this, and this soup has got 3,000 milligrams of sodium in it. I'm going to pick this one.
Of course, you're listening to 21.6 to the Net. This is Living Low Sodium with Mary Schepp. And of course, brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Reeses Barkery Pawtique. Check them out at reesesbarkery.com because your fur babies need to be healthy too. Now, I know Gary's out there, and well, he might be in bed now.
I saw him pop on.
But I think a few weeks ago he said, "Is he the one who said boiled plantains taste like potatoes?" Have you done that?
I've had them. I haven't personally done it.
Okay.
But he's right. Plantains are just a much starchier banana.
Yeah, nanner, right?
But they still have that banana flavor.
Even boiled.
Yeah, it still has a hint. And I've grown. I won't say that I like them.
Right.
But like banana bread and things like that have that back end flavor, I'm okay with.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoy now. But there's just
because he said cut the ends off or something, and you boil them in the skin, and yeah, and then like potatoes, and then you can mash them up. I'm gonna try that. I think. Yeah,
you can do them fried, like you boil them and smash them and then fry.
Yeah.
Yes, the bananas are. People are like there's a million other things you can get your potassium to serve the same purpose, which is true. Like an avocado, but it's not easy to peel an avocado and just eat it real quick.
Right.
Where I can peel a banana. And in 3 or 4 bites, it's done and gone, and I don't have to worry about it.
I don't know. The lights went on out there. Off out there.
They're locking us in.
They are.
So it can be because when people come to me and ask for help, and that's the thing is it really is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And there is so much to watch, and there's so much balance to it. But the easiest way is to just simply start paying attention and start making better choices. If you want to go gung-ho like I did, then great. I'm going to tell you that you don't know how bad you feel until you feel better. So when people tell me like, oh, I feel great, that's awesome. I guarantee you can feel better. Guarantee it. Just based on looking at what you eat and what you consume, and if you drink or you still smoke or you whatever, because we all give ourselves justifiable license and say, well, I quit drinking so I can still smoke, or I quit smoking so I can still do this, or, I cut back on drinking. It's the same with people who are like, well, I really cut back on all my junk food, but I'm still not losing any weight. Right. You need to get rid of the junk food.
That's right. Cut back. Get rid of them.
And if all you're doing is running around the block, you're not doing anything to lose weight. You need to build muscle to lose weight. So it needs to be a balance of strength training and cardio training to actually. So if your goal is simply to lose weight and watch pounds shed off, you really do need a strategic plan to have that happen. Yeah. So it can be a little bit tricky.
Stacy says agree, and Nadine says yes.
I'm not saying that it's it, because the whole food part of things is way easier for me than everything else. So I've been doing my 6-minute challenge.
Yeah, how's that going?
I love it and hate it at the same time. So 6-minute challenge. I now work from home. A lot of us work from home. We are much more sedentary than we were a couple years ago by default. Everybody that I talk to, whether they want to admit it or not, they don't drink enough water. Period. They just don't.
Done.
So I gave up, my husband and I gave up soda like, I don't know, 2013 or something like that. We gave it up a long, long time ago. But I still wasn't drinking enough water. So the 6-minute challenge throughout my workday, and I make once you start doing it for a long enough period of time, coming through the weekends, you find yourself moving around more, drinking more water. It's not quite the same routine.
Right.
But I set my phone to go off every hour. So every hour, because I'm drinking so much water, usually it's just to get up and pee and get more water. But instead of walking back up the stairs to my office, I will walk up the stairs, set my cup down on the little shelf in the windowsill, and then I'll walk down the stairs, and I'll walk up the stairs, and I'll walk back down the stairs, and I'll do 3 or 4 trips up and down my stairs. Or when I sit in my desk, I will do like toe touches where just sitting in my chair, I just touch the toe of each foot to the bottom of my desk like 20 or 30 times.
Yeah. Just move.
But for every hour on the hour for 6 minutes, and it can be 5 minutes, it can be 4 minutes. The whole point of it is to get up, stand straight up, get the blood to flow through your entire body. You don't have to run a marathon. You don't have to go. If you can go for a walk or you can actually do an exercise, great. Not everybody with heart conditions and all this kind of stuff can or have that luxury to do that. Barely. Some people can't even stand up.
Resistance bands are fun too.
But even if all I do is put my hands on my arms in my chair and lift myself out of my chair, it cracks my back, aligns my spine, and it works my upper body. So for every hour, for 6 minutes, I get up, move around, and I drink a glass of water. Doesn't have to be a big giant, just 8 ounce tiny. You don't realize how small 8 ounces of water is.
Right.
The little miniature juice glasses that you get, like in the old time we'd go to Wags for breakfast.
Yeah.
You get a juice and you're like, what is this thing? Is this a shot glass?
Right.
That's 8 ounces. That's what you're supposed to have. So you get up and move around. Ironically, and I texted Dawn this. I was like, this stupid 6-minute challenge, I gained 4 pounds. But it's muscle. The way my body is built, years ago, someone gifted me a membership to Bally's. The trainer was awesome. The gym was horrible. But I ended up gaining a lot of weight. I lost, and my body fat, my BMI went way down. But my body builds muscle. It also loses muscle fast. I have a weird physiology, but so my thighs got huge. I look like someone that, rode bicycles for a living or something. It was weird, but
Tour de France.
Everybody's different. And that's why everybody, you see all of it. I think I texted her, if I keep this up, I'm going to be skinny, but I'm going to have a Kardashian ass. Because I was like, I'm gaining weight, but it's good weight. It's not bad weight. It's not like I'm losing it in the right places, but I'm gaining in other places. So it's going to be fun for me.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny, but the drinking the water part is important, because it filters all of those toxins out of your body, and it keeps your organs doing what they're supposed to do, which is filtering all of those toxins out of your body. The last thing that a lot of people, before I talk about some recipes and actual appetizers and foods, people don't realize that salt and sodium are not the same thing. Sodium is a chemical. It's a metal in the metal group on the periodic table. It's the most common metal and the 6th most abundant element on Earth. Sodium is in just about everything.
Really?
Salt is a mineral compound composed primarily of sodium chloride. It's a chemical compound belonging to the larger class of salts. So it's a natural crystallization of these two minerals, sodium and chloride. So when your body has salt, it actually has to separate the sodium chloride. It's a process inside your body. So your body reacts differently to dietary sodium than it does to added salt. So if you're going to do too much salt, then have it be dietary sodium.
Yeah.
So if you're, celery's kind of high for what it is. I mean, it's not high like corned beef is high. But as far as natural foods go, celery and carrots, which is why veg stock is usually a little bit higher than others. So, did you go out for St. Patty's Day? Did you do anything?
I do not. I'm just, my wife is Irish, so it's St. Patty's Day every day in the house.
That's funny.
So,
I haven't gone out in years. I think the last time I actually did something for St. Patty's Day was when I lived in Chicago.
Yeah.
And we did the St. Patty's Day parade. That was 2004 or 5, sometime around there.
And again, this year I've challenged myself not to drink alcohol. So,
which is awesome.
So St. Patty's Day is a big beer guzzling usually day, right? Green beer they do,
I think it's hilarious that if you quit anything, you say, I'm going to eat healthier, so I'm going to have a salad for lunch, trying to be better.
Yeah.
Everybody's supportive. That's awesome. Eat better. You're great. I'm going to quit smoking. It's horrible for me. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Quit smoking. I'm going to quit heroin. It's bad for me. That's awesome.
Awesome.
What can I do
That's
to support
right.
you? I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to get you to drink.
Yeah. What the hell's your problem?
Well, let's go out. I'm
Why-
going to
why
get
would
you.
do that? Yeah.
This doesn't look good. Like why
Right.
why does everybody have to? Don't get me wrong. I miss
Well, sure.
Scotch
Oh, there's been days
and
this
White
year
Russians
already.
and brandy old fashions.
And when we say White Russians, everybody out there, this is the drink.
Not those Russians.
Yeah, this is the drink. Yeah, and it's interesting. I did it with soda back in like 2005, and
Mhm.
and then I haven't had soda since.
Mhm.
I don't need it now. It's gross and it tastes like soda. I mean,
Right.
it
Every
is,
once in a
right?
while, you're like, oh, I want some. One sip, and it's like,
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have an issue. It's just I'm like,
right.
it's a challenge that I wanted to do to see mentally how long I could sustain or whatever, but stay away from it. Alice and I now have challenged each other to change our eating habits into a cleaner,
Nice. Just better options.
Right. Which then we're both kind of look at each other like, oh, well, and we are, I think I've shared it before. We are the family that has lived on Hamburger Helper.
Mhm. Did you try that recipe that I
No,
think I gave it to you?
but we did pull it up.
Yeah.
And we're going to. So tomorrow is a day that we are working together to food prep and prepare meals, both for lunch and dinner and
Sure.
whatnot, from cleaner food, right? Not so much processed.
I'm actually after the
Hey, Gwen.
show. I have to go to. Good morning, Gwen. I have to go to Dykstra's farm
Mhm.
to get. I think I'm getting like 15 pounds of ground beef
Mhm.
to make what could be. I listed as an appetizer because you. So when people are like, "Oh, I don't know what to make if it's low sodium," meatballs, taco dip, spinach dip, salsa, water chestnut dip, Jezebel dip, garlic rolls, sausage dip. Everybody knows the Jimmy Dean sage sausage with cheese. You can still make it. It's just a little bit more work because you got to make it yourself. Hummus. I make an avocado hummus. It's chickpeas, avocado, and tahini. Put whatever you want: roasted red peppers, garlic, jalapenos, habaneros, whatever. Like it goes in a food processor and boom, it's done. So meatballs, I have, in my personal opinion, again, it's my opinion. Everybody has a preference. I have perfected this meatball recipe. I love it. My husband absolutely, he says things that probably aren't appropriate to say.
Is this the one that I'm showing
Yep.
from mylosolifestyle.com?
Which
Looks
I had a
delicious.
bunch of recipes scheduled to post, and then I screwed up my website. So I promise you I will fix my website this weekend, and my recipes will start posting again. I finally got back into a rhythm, so I will be posting my recipes. So 1 pound of ground beef, 1 pound of ground pork, an egg, 1 tablespoon of Lee and Perrins reduced sodium Worcestershire sauce. If you want to do regular Worcestershire sauce, it's not really that high in sodium to begin with. A can of Rotel. If you can have salt, then pick the salted one. If you are watching your salt, they have a no salt version that's very nice. A teaspoon of rosemary, teaspoon of thyme, a teaspoon of basil, and a cup of panko breadcrumbs. Mix it all together with your hands, form it into balls, throw it in the oven, bake it at 425 for like 20-25 minutes. If you want, they don't last very. I'm actually making a bunch today to freeze them because my husband yelled at me that I don't make them enough.
Now these are not in any kind of red sauce, right? This is just straight meatballs, delicious.
Yep. So what we have done lately is I've made them with risotto. We've done them for meatball sandwiches. We've even cut them up in chunks and put them on pre-made pizza.
So how big of balls are you making?
Mine are about the size of a golf ball.
Okay. Yeah. So poppable.
Yep. So you can get like 3 in a bowl of risotto and cut them in half, and it's like the perfect bite size, kind of, not too much, not too little.
Because I know some people who make them the size of baseballs, and you're just like, holy moly.
I've done that before, but then when they get too big, you run into this issue where the outside gets too done and the inside isn't quite done, and they can dry out if you cook them too long. So that golf ball size and that 25 minutes is long enough to cook them through and keep them, even when I freeze them.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to make a huge batch. And then once they cool, I put them in gallon Ziploc baggies, all laid flat.
Yeah, yeah.
Put them in the freezer, and they stack all of those flat. They freeze, and then you can literally, if you wanted a meatball sandwich right now, you can go in and grab 2 of those meatballs, heat them up, and you have a sandwich.
And this recipe you say online there will make about 18.
Yep. I almost consistently, when I make them that golf ball size, it's a little bit bigger than a golf ball, but it makes about 18 every single time. I personally, the reason why my husband says it's perfected is we get our fresh ground beef from the farm. If you're in the area, I get my beef from Wanda's farm. I get my pork actually from 2 different farms. For this recipe, I use guinea hog, which is from Dyksher's farm. You can also get it from Hephzibah. I also get heifered hog from Hidden Marsh Farm. So if you have the luxury of getting fresh from the farm meats, I highly recommend it. And pork, especially if you are low sodium, you have to watch, because nobody ever warns you that it's brined. It's in a salt solution. So when you look at the package, there's no ingredients because it's just pork. But it says that it's in a 10 or 12% salt solution, which means pork goes from 60 to 80 milligrams a serving to 300 to 1,000 milligrams a serving, depending on what you've got.
Yep. And again, you can find this recipe out at mylosolifestyle.com.
I think that one's actually listed as a main instead of an appetizer. But the reason I put it as an appetizer for today is depending on the sauce that you make.
Mm-hmm.
So once you've cooked these and then frozen them, when you cook a meat and then freeze it or cool it, the way that it congeals together and the fats and the proteins reconstitute, when you go to use them again, they very much stay together like the frozen meatballs in the freezer. So if you want to do like that chili and grape juice or grape jelly crock pot appetizer thing where you're just, even if it's just in a red sauce,
right,
you can make those meatballs into an appetizer very easily.
Real quick.
I've even been known to just put a chunk of cheese on top with a little onion and then a toothpick. You heat them up and it's a poppable appetizer.
Good to go.
Appetizer. But yes, which means I will probably have some kind of meatball for dinner tonight, because I'm going to make a whole boatload.
You could take that same meatball recipe and stuff it into ravioli too.
Oh yeah.
Sounds like that would be delicious.
It's very similar. I make my meatloaf almost the same way.
Okay.
Usually when I make meatloaf, my husband and I have come to like lamb and beef for our meatloaf. We very, very much like lamb, especially since I have options to get fresh lamb from the farm near me. I guarantee you, wherever you live, you probably have more farms near you than you realize. Here in McHenry, we're not we have a lot of farmland, but we are not by any means in the country. This is suburbia.
That's right.
We're still, considered North Chicago suburbs.
Land, North Chicago.
We have it just in McHenry County. We have 800 registered farms. We have plenty of farms to serve your needs. And that's just McHenry County. Once you get into Boone County, which is where the country land is, there's a whole other boatload of farms. So the other one that I'm actually going to be making tonight when I get home is my taco dip, which you can do it with cream cheese if you want. So depending on how much sodium you're allowed in a day, me and my husband will eat the entire thing. So we're not going to eat.
It wouldn't last long in my house.
We're not going to eat the 2 tablespoons, which is 1 serving.
Right.
So when you look at these recipes, you're like, oh, it's only 190 milligrams of sodium. I can do that. And then you look at the serving, you're like, who eats that's 2 chips of taco dip?
Right.
I don't think so.
Doesn't work that way.
Cream cheese has about 90 milligrams of sodium per serving, which is a couple tablespoons. Mascarpone, which is just an unsalted, fattier, richer version of cream cheese, is the Italian version of cream cheese, has 5 milligrams of sodium.
Yeah.
So I can use more mascarpone and get this nice, fatty, rich, creamy cheese flavor. And then mascarpone, sour cream. I do about 2 or 3 tablespoons of the Dax Spices Taco Blend or Dax Original Red, depending on the flavor I want to go for. If you use Dax Barbecue, it's actually Red Mountain Rub is their barbecue one.
Mhm.
If you haven't noticed, I like Dax Spices. Go to daxspices.com. They're awesome family-owned business.
DAKS.
Yes.
Dax.
But you can use any spice blend that you want, taco-y flavor. Just be mindful if you buy a taco packet, it's loaded with salt. You need to either make it yourself or pay attention to one that says no sodium. 10-ounce can of no salt Rotel, some black beans that have been rinsed, and some onions, maybe some cheddar cheese or whatever if I feel like putting it in. Mix it all together, and it's a taco dip. And it's absolutely fabulous. You want to make a...
sounds delicious.
It's so... And especially I have... Oh, I didn't even think about that. I have Mirai corn still from the summer in my freezer. So I will break out some Mirai corn and mix in some sweet corn into that. Oh. And then if you wanted to make one of those taco salads, you can make refried beans. Take some beans, unsalted from a can, mix them with some garlic, little balsamic vinegar, smash them up, cook them in a frying pan, really good olive oil, and boom, you have refried beans. Put the taco dip, refried beans. You can make a low sodium 7-layer taco salad like you see at the grocery store with the lettuce and the tomatoes, and it's like,
oh, delicious.
You know, I mean, the olives you got to be careful of because there's not really a low sodium olive option. The other one that is that I think was one of your favorites when I brought the dips in originally was the Jezebel Dip. So mascarpone, again, you can use the cream cheese if you want and if you can afford it. And by afford it, I mean in your low sodium diet, not afford. Well, and again, right now, because of the stupid distribution issues, cream cheese is actually in short supply.
It is.
But 8 ounces mascarpone, teaspoon of horseradish, 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar. I do herbes de Provence. You can do just about any Italian herb blend, but herbes de Provence has lavender in it, which I really, really enjoy. It grabs a floral note for this particular dip, which makes it fabulous.
It's delicious.
1/2 cup of apricot preserves. If you don't have apricot preserves, any kind of like orange marmalade, peach preserves, those things all work really well, but the apricot is made for this dish. A teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and if you like spice, add a little bit of red pepper flake. So you layer the cream cheese mix and the horseradish and the herbes de Provence, and then you mix in the red pepper flake and the apricot and put it on top like a layered dip. It's so absolutely fabulous.
Again, the ingredients and whatnot you see is out there on mylosodlifestyle.com. It is, let me tell you, from experience, delicious.
You guys ate that whole platter.
Oh, yeah. In a minute, it didn't last. I don't even think it got to room temperature.
No,
was gone.
I know you ate most of the Jezebel Dip. I think it was they're on my website too. I think it was the garlic dip and the ranch dip.
I did not get any.
That Pete, you were too busy eating the Jezebel Dip,
right.
But I think Pete ate the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah, Pete took them in quick.
You know, the other day was the first. I mean, I've missed him terribly. But I had there was just a question that popped into my head. And he's just my go-to guy for certain things. It's like if you need an HR question, he's the only person that's going to pop in your head.
That's right.
But there's just certain things that, you can't help but be like, hey, if I'm thinking of the radio station, I'm going to think, I should ask Kent that. And if you're no longer around. So there was a couple questions the other day that made me actually think of Pete. So you can do all of these side dishes. And do you what's your go-to if you guys have a party other than chips and salsa? I know everybody, and that's another one. Salsa is super easy to make.
We are we love queso, right? So we'll do queso with sausage and or hamburger in there, and some Rotel.
Yep.
And it just Alice's and my favorite food, nachos. If we go out to eat at places, she and I'll just share a plate of nachos.
It's the only thing Chili's makes good is their queso.
Right.
Everything else is garbage. Go
It
there
is.
for the queso
It
and
is.
nachos. That's it.
So when we do that, we are, the whether it's Velveeta, depending on, we'll put a bunch of different cheeses in there, but it's got to be creamy and it got to have the meat in there as well. And she doesn't like jalapeno, so I have those on the side. But yeah, absolutely.
So I've made that dip before a long time ago after I first started going low sodium, when I discovered how easy it was to make sausage. So ground pork, sage, rosemary, thyme, some balsamic, some garlic, mix it in. If you like spicy sausage, put in a little bit of red pepper flake. But the Jimmy Dean sage sausage, the reason it's sage sausage is pork, sage, and salt. That's pretty much what makes it taste. I mean, there's other ingredients,
Sure.
but that's what makes it taste amazing. So, and a little bit of fennel seed. A little bit goes a long way. And my husband hates fennel, which is weird because he loves licorice.
Yeah.
I literally put, for a pound of pork, I put 3 fennel seeds. 3 little tiny stuff. And he's always the first bite. I just fennel seed. Like, really? Never fails. Never fails. Every time I make something with fennel in it, and I'll put like 5 fennel seeds in a big giant crock pot of something, awesome. And he like first bite pick. But it's like, did you put fennel in this? How does it every time? How does this happen? But once I learned how easy it was to make sausage, fry it up in a pan, cool it off, drain it, and then freeze it. So like you guys can make a huge batch of this, freeze it in little 1-pound zipper bags in your freezer. So when you want to make that dip, Velveeta is horrible for you. It's amazing and tastes like heaven. I could eat an entire brick of it.
I don't know if it's cheese though.
There's not really anything cheese about it.
Right.
It's a processed gelatin cube flavored like cheese, but it melts amazingly. And thanks to the emulsifiers that it is made with, it melts phenomenally and doesn't split.
Yes.
But that's exactly what it is. It's got chemical emulsifiers and gastronomy that makes it Velveeta. But mascarpone with a little bit of like a Gruyere, or Fontina or something of that nature, where you can use their high salt cheeses, but when you use a little itty bitty tiny bit of Asiago, those cheeses have so much flavor that they go a long way. So when you have a bunch of mascarpone, which is essentially just cream cheese with a little bit of another stinky cheese with that sausage and your rotel,
it's delicious.
Same thing.
And you don't even need chips. You can eat it by the spoonful or...
You want me to I'll eat celery with that. I don't care what it is.
That's what I was just going to say. It is great with celery.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Spoon.
Right.
Here's a bowl of it.
That's what I mean. And that's why it's great when we go to places or take it, because it doesn't matter what's there.
Right.
It doesn't matter. This goes literally with everything. If you're at a barbecue, put it on top of your hamburger. It's delicious.
I think the last time I actually ate at Chili's, and the waiter thought it was funny because there was 3 or 4 of us. We got, that queso.
Yeah.
So we're all eating queso or whatever. Our food comes, and I just got a burger. I literally take my spoon, put it in the queso, and put queso on my burger. And he's looking at me like, what are you doing?
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't I? It's chili cheese sauce on my burger.
Right?
Are you kidding me? All day long. Yeah. So no,
it's good with eggs. I mean, that's why I say that is. Now we'll probably go out and get nachos tonight. We don't need to, but you
make your own.
Yeah, you got me
make
thinking
your
about
own.
it now.
I can't sit. That's tonight. Like I'm gonna make salsa. Just because I had to get something else at Walmart. I hate Walmart. I hate it. I very, very rarely go there. It's probably the first time I've been there.
Like, I love Walmart.
There's some people that do. There's some people that do, but I needed canning jars.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it is just where I'm at. Unless I order them online, I didn't need that many. It's the best place for me to just run up the street and get them. Whatever. So while I was there, they had a big display of this nice salsa. So I grabbed some salsa. It was actually really, really tasty, but really high in sodium for my liking. For you or anybody else, it was actually pretty low. But so now tonight I'm making meatballs. I'm making salsa. Now that I've talked about it, and especially since I'm picking up fresh pork immediately after the show, I'm probably going to make
Right.
queso.
See?
So
You're welcome.
I can't. I mean, come on. How can we talk? We just spent 10 minutes talking about queso.
Carrie, I've seen the photos of the denizens of Walmart.
Yeah, no, it's
those are the those are the
they
people
have
who love
Walmart in Singapore.
They have Walmarts everywhere, McDonald's everywhere.
Except Russia. McDonald's isn't in Russia no more.
Russia, no.
But too soon.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, not for me.
The other one that I like is my garlic rolls, which is it's my logo.
Yep.
It's been on. It was the first recipe I put up on my website.
Nope, no Walmart in Singapore.
See, another reason we need to move to Singapore.
That is heaven over there.
Right? It's beautiful. It's clean. I mean,
right.
If you're a gun owner, you probably don't want to go to Singapore, but who cares?
Or a drug dealer, you certainly do.
Yeah, no.
That's right.
So the other one that I'm making tonight is going to be Colcannon. Irish. It's mashed potatoes with a green spinach, collards, whatever you got. I happen to have spinach. So that's what I'm going to make.
The closest thing that got was Kmart, but that only lasted for about 3 years.
Yeah, that lasted about 4 years here. So you're good.
That's right.
As always, please follow us on YouTube. The more subscribers we have, the more we are allowed to do. 216thenet.com. You can always listen to us on the radio anytime we're having technical difficulties. We do have an app. Please go to 216thenet and download our app. And we will see you.
We're in process of getting the iOS or the Apple version.
We have the Android version. We don't have the iOS version.
Always fun stuff. This has been Living Low Sodium with the one, the only Mary Schepp. For all of us here at 216 The Net, thanks for getting caught in the net with us here this morning, this afternoon, this evening, in the early morning hours over in Singapore. Gary, absolutely appreciate you. Enjoy the weekend, and remember to always be good, but more importantly, be good to each other.
I will have to respond.